We have a tradition that we always like to save the best for last. Unfortunately, today we have glaucoma. With that in mind, we have some really exciting stuff in glaucoma. I can't be more excited about what's happening, and that's the new frontier for me as an anterior segment surgeon. Some of these new glaucoma therapies are amazing. And I can't think of two better people to present in a panel here than Nate Radcliffe and Tom Samuelson. They'll introduce the panel, and we're really looking forward to this last session on glaucoma today. Thank you all again for being here.
You know, Eric is still bitter that he didn't get in our glaucoma fellowship, and we turned him down, so he went cornea. So anyway, I'm Tom Samuelson. I do glaucoma and anterior segment surgery in Minneapolis, and Nate Radcliffe is my co-moderator. Nate from New York. And we've got an outstanding panel of experts here to review the 4 technologies that we'll be presenting. And I think what we'll do is we'll start just here with Ron. Ron, just briefly introduce yourself, and we'll go right down the line before we get started.
Hello, I'm Ron Bach. Most recently was president and CEO of Aquasys, and now spend my time as an operating partner with Invis private equity firm.
Hey, Leon Herndon, chief of the glaucoma division at Duke University Eye Center.
Sarah Van Tassel, I'm a glaucoma specialist at Weill Cornell in New York City.
Hello, I'm Robert Warner. I spent most of my career with Alcon Laboratories in various leadership positions.
Nathan Radcliffe, New York City, and I will be the first to invite from Avisi, Jiang, to speak about their company.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time. My name is Jiang, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Avisi Technologies. As a quick overview, at Avisi, we're working on VisiPlate, an ultra-thin, multi-channel aqueous shunt for glaucoma patients. We're starting with 2.6 million moderate to severe glaucoma patients in the US. We have preclinical data that I'll be happy to share, showing some proof of concept. We have a strong IP position, an experienced expert team, and we're taking the 510K pathway. We've raised $2.8 million in seed and grant funding thus far, and we will be raising $10 million for US clinical trials. VisiPlate initially targets patients who require sustained lower intraocular pressures to manage the course of their disease. Now, most of the solutions today are surgical interventions, but shortcomings still abound. In particular, many of these interventions can fail by occluding, or they're very large and invasive. For example, trabeculectomies can lead to hypotony, MIGS can scar or migrate, and tube shunts can lead to conjunctival erosions. So with all this in mind, we designed VisiPlate, an ultra-thin shunt that can avoid occlusion. And we do this by using non-fibrotic materials, having a multi-channel design to create outflow redundancy, and having a surface area to maintain the drainage space over time. VisiPlate is ultra-thin. You can see it just barely balanced here on this fingertip, 5 microns in thickness, 20 times thinner than a human hair. But what's remarkable is that our patented nanotechnology can ensure handleability despite this small scale. VisiPlate's unique design will serve to help maintain lower IOPs over time. It's bottle-shaped with a neck and a body. The body sits in the subconjunctival space, and the neck sits in the anterior chamber. It's currently an ab externo procedure. Aqueous humor flows down a pressure gradient through a network of microchannels that have been optimized for flow and resistance properties in order to prevent hypotony. The resulting bleb is barely there, low-lying and diffuse. The metamaterial that we use was patented at the University of Pennsylvania. We have an exclusive field of use in the realm of ophthalmology, and what's so remarkable about it is that it's the thinnest freestanding material in the world. Unlike other thin films, think saran wrap, our technology doesn't crinkle, crumple, or stick to itself. Instead, it's freestanding, robust, and highly conformal. We've applied for other applications, for other indications, and uses in the eye for various eye disease. We've completed an FTO, and we've filed applications abroad as well. VisiPlate is designed to overcome trade-offs that currently exist in efficacy and safety. We're the only device with redundant multiple outflow pathways in order to help avoid occlusion. There are over 80 channels throughout our device. Now, other devices rely on a single lumen tube, a single outflow pathway, and a single point of failure. VisiPlate can also maintain the drainage space to sustain IOPs over time. There's a 60 millimeter squared surface area that keeps that space open. Tube shunts also have a drainage plate, but again, at 2 millimeters in thickness, that can erode through eye tissue. Last but not least, we use non-fibrotic materials, specifically alumina and Parylene C, in order to help avoid failure from scarring. These are materials with a long history of use and demonstrated biocompatibility. We've been able to demonstrate in standard preclinical New Zealand white rabbit models sustained IOP-lowering potential and excellent biocompatibility. We implanted these rabbits with VisiPlate without mitomycin, and we're able to see a significant reduction from a baseline IOP of only 15 millimeters mercury. This exceeds the FDA's threshold of a 20% reduction from baseline, and we also saw excellent safety over a 180-day period. And that leads us to our first-in-human clinical trial, which is meant to show safety and feasibility. We're very lucky to be working with Dr. Juan Bache in the Laser Center in the Dominican Republic. And our first patient, who has just recently completed his month 1 visit, is an 81-year-old Hispanic male of Black, African, and white descent. We saw a 40% drop in IOP from baseline with no medications. Previously, he was on 3 medications, and his eye is quiet with no inflammation or adverse events. We could see a posterior diffuse bleb form, and most importantly, our patient had no discomfort or foreign body sensation. Looking ahead, we will be pursuing the 510K route for VisiPlate. We aim to submit a US IDE application in 2022 and achieve clearance in 2024. I co-founded the company when I was a student at the University of Pennsylvania because I wanted to help patients live a higher quality of life. Since then, we've recruited experts in medtech development, such as Gary Pruden, Barry Cheskin, Conor Colborn, in order to help bring VisiPlate to the market. Of course, we wouldn't be here at all if not for our wonderful clinical advisors. Just a few are listed here today: Dr. Miller Ellis, Dr. Rick Lewis, Dr. Ike Ahmed, Dr. Vance Thompson, and Dr. Jonathan Myers. A huge thank you. My last slide here, we will be raising a $10 million Series A to support US clinical trials. A couple of our seed investors are also here on the slide. If anyone is interested in learning more, this is my email. My team and I are here today and tomorrow, and we would love to connect. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. I'll ask you just to say a word about, this came out of an incubator at an academic institution. I'm sure you've had the opportunity to hear about, all the other pathways you can take. How was that experience for you?
When you say pathways, do you mean towards commercialization?
Well, you have physicians with ideas, and this, what was the experience at Penn having this brought up through the incubator there?
Okay, we have a very unique story. So we were founded through a technology commercialization competition. The university had this very robust nanotechnology, but no application for it. And what we did is we asked ourselves, where can this small and robust material really make a difference in the human body? My co-founding team and I, we actually come from families of doctors, so it's very easy for us to kind of pinpoint some of the major pain points, and for us, vision was one of those. And we looped in doctors from Shea Eye Institute very early on, started learning more about the space, glaucoma in particular, and that's what led us here today.
Great.
So, Robert, I know Ron's been down this road before, knows this. Is this on? Oh, there we go. I know Ron's been down this road before. Robert, looking at this presentation, what would excite you the most? Looking at what they have and knowing the market they're trying to enter.
Well, I've had the privilege of actually seeing this presentation and talking with you several times over the last couple of weeks. And I think the most exciting thing is the opportunity to have long-term IOP reduction in these moderate to severe patients that you've identified. Clearly, many shunts tend to clog and tend to fail over time. And that actually leads to the question, which is, you've got 90-day data in rabbits. You've just implanted your first human. At what point do you think you'll have confidence that this will remain patent over the long term? Because glaucoma, unfortunately, is a lifelong disease.
Absolutely, and we thought about that question really hard when we were picking our materials. And what's unique about Parylene C, which is the polymer coating around our device, is that it's actually very hydrophobic, and that helps to prevent any fibrotic tissue from adhering to the device. The next thing that I'll talk about is the design of the device itself. Because of the way we manufacture, we have a very conformal layering process. The device is very smooth. There aren't that many places for cells to adhere to and anchor onto. And our rabbit data actually goes out to 180 days, so we didn't see any fouling or any clogging in the histopath there.
Thank you. Very exciting.
And we need one comment from one of our surgeons here. And Sarah, you're going to be on the hook for the next talk. Leon, what excites you about this, and what are potential pitfalls? Ron just whispered to me this space has been already conquered.
Well, you mentioned the occlusion as a potential issue with tube shunts. That's not really the problem. The problem is wound healing. So this does create a bleb. Like any bleb-forming procedures, wound healing is the issue. So the materials sound very nice, but it will take long-term follow-up to see if this will be effective.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, Regine. That was terrific.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Our next presentation is, go ahead. Our next presentation is regarding ELT site. Matilda Parente will speak to that technology.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for inviting us. I am the Chief Medical Officer for ELT site, and I'll be bringing you up to date with what's been going on with our company over these past couple of years and where we're headed in the MIG space. So the Elios procedure is a tissue-sparing, angle-based technique that restores outflow via the conventional pathway via multiple laser channels through the TM with no device left behind. The system's been used in Europe successfully under its CE mark, for which we have accumulated a robust series of data and studies and user experience with the device. This review article, published in mid-2020, looked at 10 independent studies from about 30 investigators from 4 different EU countries. These were real-world studies with no washout, with more than 600 patients treated by the procedure, both alone and with standalone and with phaco. The review authors concluded that the procedure's IOP lowering was as good or better as that achieved with other MIGs with an excellent safety profile. Besides achieving end IOPs in the mid-teen range, the IOP lowering effects were stable and durable, and this was backed up by studies that were long-term, 2, 4, 5, and 8 years. Another strength of the review was that it included the largest study to date with the procedure, with a total of 245 patients. True to an examer, the AEs were low, and they were overwhelmingly self-limited and non-site threatening. Just published online at the top right, and now in press, is this study by Valladares, Ahmed, and investigators from Spain, with a little over 80% of the patients achieving drop-free control at 1 year with high safety, and again, the IOPs driven into the mid-teen range. So let me show you a video by the PI on that study. And the approach here is a familiar one to this audience. It's a clear cornea incision with gonioscopic guidance and targeting of the infranasal region. The laser is a xenon chloride 308 nanometer examer. It's calibrated and programmed to deliver 10 shots, creating 10 laser ostia or microchannels into Schlemm's canal to amplify flow. And here you see the probe advanced to the TM to create the ostomies. The cannula outer diameter is 500 microns, which makes it a nice internal micrometer for shot placement, and the fiber tip is 210 microns. Each shot delivers the same precise and programmed amount of energy, 1.3 millijoules at the tip, and as you'll see, bubbles and blood reflux confirm in real time for the surgeon the successful perforations. The white arrows that are going to appear point out a small amount of reflux that comes from the new ostia. At the end of the procedure, the visco is of course irrigated and aspirated away, and all that's left behind is a healthier outflow pathway. So as you've seen, the procedure is very OR efficient, it's straightforward, it takes a little while after a cataract procedure to complete, and it has a rapid learning curve. So we've built the foundation. We have solid experience with the device that's established safety and efficacy based on independent user data. We also have a tested, proven, and user-friendly procedure. And finally, the big kahuna of any acceptance, technology adoption is reimbursement. So here is our CPT code for our procedure. It's well positioned for competitive reimbursement, and it's already established and primed for your coding pleasure in the near future. So finally, besides expanding our EU user base, in March we got the green light from FDA to begin our pivotal trial. We're very excited about that. We're treating about 300 participants in combination with cataract surgery. And thanks to our team's hard work, we've established prime investigator channels and a robust training program that's allowed us to move swiftly from screening, enrollment, and washout to treating patients right now. Our second trial for standalone is coming soon, so please stay tuned for that. So Elios Vision is making its way to the main stage in MIGS with a technology that is not only clearly suited for the subspecialists, but that also gives non-subspecialists an adoptable, laser-based tool for their glaucoma patients with a smooth learning curve. It's a mass-market solution for patients and physicians everywhere who've been waiting for a lasting, laser-based approach to glaucoma. Thank you for your attention and for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Parente. So Dr. Van Tassel, I think there's a hunger for glaucoma specialists to develop the so-called standalone MIGS options, and I think we sometimes have trouble getting to the operating room with available options. And is there anything you saw here that you think would make this suitable for these standalone MIGS procedures in your practice?
I mean, I think there's a lot to like here, and I think the timing is right because there's so much excitement with laser trabeculoplasty, which is obviously different but similar, and the explosive growth of MIGS. So I would love to see this continue to move forward. I think I can imagine doing this standalone. You can almost imagine doing this in the office, I think, at some point in the future as that continues to grow. I think the question I'm left wondering, and the thing my OR is always on me about as MIGS grows, is what capital expenditures are going to be required from ORs or ASCs, and then what are the disposables that we can expect to put on our shelves?
Sure. So the laser probe itself is a single-use disposable, and the laser device itself, it's not one of those monster machines. It's a very petite device. It's only about 3 feet high or so. So I think the prices will be extremely competitive with other options.
Ron, you're uniquely qualified to talk in this space because your previous life, you were cataract and refractive, and then you were glaucoma. And so do you see this as a technology that comprehensive anterior segment surgeons will adopt, and will they be scared off by any capital costs?
I think it's a very innovative approach, and it's been around, and I think that the new team that has been there is doing some great things with it. To answer your question, I think, yes, I can see comprehensive ophthalmologists using this. I think it makes placement of an implant less challenging, if you will, because you don't have an implant to place, not having something left behind. I think there's still skills involved with using the gonio lens, et cetera, but I think it definitely has a space there, and I think the interesting thing will be, when does a surgeon choose an implant versus potentially a laser, whether it be excimer or femtosecond, and what are the benefits to the patient clinically and potentially to the practice financially?
And Robert, this technology has been around for a while. It's been in Europe. Does it concern you at all that it hasn't taken the world by storm yet, or is it just not positioned properly?
I don't know, but leadership matters. So it seems like there's newfound momentum here. So that's all I would say. I think it's, for all the reasons that were said, it's extremely interesting, has the opportunity to be efficient and possibly something that can be done by a broad array of ophthalmologists. So best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we will invite up John Berdahl to speak to us about his journey to space and beyond with Equinox.
Hey everybody, thanks. So there's still real unmet needs in glaucoma, and we need safer treatments for the patients that we have that are going blind, and those unmet needs aren't really for high eye pressure glaucoma and mild to moderate glaucoma. They're really for those patients that are progressing at low eye pressures. And that's 30% of patients with open-angle glaucoma in the United States. It's over 70% of the patients in Asia. And so our treatments for normal tension glaucoma and severe glaucoma aren't as good as we need. And that's not the only unmet need. Eye pressure goes up at night. This is well documented. Blood pressure goes down at night. That's also well documented. That means the optic nerve gets less blood flow at night, and it's a vulnerable time for progression of the disease. In fact, there's a study out of Johns Hopkins showing that the longer you sleep, you have up to a 3-fold risk of glaucoma progression if you sleep over 10 hours a night. I don't know who gets to do that, but if you do, you're at higher risk for glaucoma. And so in treated patients, those that are still getting worse, 80% of them had elevated IOP at night. And we also know that lowering IOP at night can help slow the progression of glaucoma. And so in the current landscape, you've got mild to moderate glaucoma, and there's a lot of great innovation that's happened and is happening there, drops, lasers, MIGS approaches. And we've got a lot of really good solutions there. In the severe glaucoma, normal tension glaucoma side, these are the patients that we're watching go blind and really need us to innovate. And their traditional surgeries are okay, there's innovation that's occurring, but we really need something different, and that's where the mercury multi-pressure dial comes in. And so what is that? It's a pair of goggles attached to a vacuum pump that lowers the pressure inside the goggles, which releases the weight from the atmosphere on the eye, and we can dial in the eye pressure to whatever we want it to be. Because of our mechanism of action, it's just based on physics. It's not based on wound healing, and that makes it predictable and titratable. We're targeting normal tension glaucoma and severe glaucoma. It's safe because it's the first non-surgical, non-drug way to lower eye pressure. And we also have a connected care platform, meaning that we have the ability in the home to monitor the patient's usage, but we also know the other therapies that they're on, and we can know the progression of their glaucoma. So here's a little bit of our data. Now keep in mind, it's a lot easier to take somebody with a pressure of 26 to 20 than it is to take somebody in those light blue bars from a pressure of 16, dial it down to 13, dial it down further to 11.5, and dial it all the way down safely to 10 millimeters of mercury, and it gives the surgeon and the eye doctor unprecedented control over IOP. We've also looked at this at nighttime, showing that, like I said, pressure goes up at night, taking pressures from over 22 millimeters of mercury to 14 millimeters of mercury at night during that really vulnerable time period. And this is maybe the slide that I'm the most proud of, because we're doing really good science, and we're doing a lot of it. Just in the last 24 months, we've drafted 13 manuscripts, published 7, have 6 in preparation. We've published over 11 with 250 eyes in the peer-reviewed literature and 550 to come quickly. So that's kind of the science and the product, but how is it going to work in the doctor's office and in the marketplace? From a doctor standpoint, this is going to be pretty easy. I see a patient, you've got glaucoma, I want your eye pressure in your right eye to be 8, your left eye to be 10. We're going to program that. The doctor sends the medical records and that information to Equinox. Then Equinox engages the patient, sends the device to the patient, teaches the patient how to use it, and so now Equinox gets to manage that patient journey. Equinox also manages the payer journey. Reimbursement, as mentioned before, is so important, so we have direct relationships with the payers because that's how durable medical equipment works. So CPAP, diabetic pumps. The companies themselves work with the payers to get insurance reimbursement and make sure that they have control over that whole process. And then finally, we've got remote patient monitoring. And what that allows us to do is see how patients are using it, the other therapies they're on. It's tied to the patient's note so we can detect progression, encourage compliance, and really know what's going on as care is moving into the home. And so those payer relationships, those patient relationships, but most importantly, a new way to safely and predictably treat our toughest patients. And I'd be remiss to not mention our management team. I'm so grateful for the people that have dedicated the best hours of the best weeks of the best years of their life to try and make this idea come true to ultimately help patients. So thank you to our team. And so in summary, we've got a powerful, a predictable, and a programmable way to manage IOP and treat our toughest patients. We're in the FDA review now, and we're hopeful that in the not so distant future, we'd have an FDA approval. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm tempted to ask you why a MIG surgeon has come up with a non-surgical solution for glaucoma, but we'll table that for a moment. And Ron, I'd like to ask you, having experience with MIGs, what are the challenges, advantages you see to an entirely different model entering the glaucoma treatment space?
Yeah, I think what John and Equinox have done is incredible because it's taking a very complex approach through physics and makes lowering pressure simple. And it can be added to anything. Think about it. If we were sitting here designing an implant that we said, we're going to be able to get you to 10, we just dial it in, right? We'd be going crazy. So I think that the approach and the clinical approach is so unique that can be a standalone, that can be added on to anything else. I think it's fantastic. I think the challenge is, and that's where John has been spending time, and they have great people like Andy Corley and Stuart Reitzman now, is the business model and figuring that out, but I'm sure that they're going to do that. So I see this as a real great win for a patient. You think about if you were diagnosed with glaucoma and we know we can get your pressure down by using physics and something that's simple to add on, that's pretty big.
Leon, from the clinical side, we all see some very desperate patients, and that's a no-brainer. They'll wear this. How do you think it'll be adopted in, say, moderate glaucoma? There's a precedent, as John mentioned, for wearables in medical care with CPAP.
Yeah, I think this is out-of-the-box thinking. It's a potential game changer. And John got the start at Duke as a resident there doing work on CSF pressure. And my question is, the technology is excellent, the theory is great, but will the patient wear it? And I know you're looking at different designs, perhaps with the goggles, but to your point, Tom, I think this will be acceptable for our moderate patients as well.
John, do you want to respond? Will the patient wear it? You've got some clinical knowledge now about that.
Yeah, we do. And we find that it is the dropout rates are very comparable to what we see in the best tolerated eye drops for patient dropout rate. The other thing that we're working really hard on is that we have that direct relationship with the patient. And so we're paying attention to what they've done in CPAP to improve compliance. And one of those things is motivational interviewing and trying to find what are the signals that show somebody might not be doing it, why aren't they doing it, and how can we get them back on board? So we've got an ability to intervene with the patient, and we've actually seen that improve the compliance rate. Even though it wasn't bad to start with, every bit matters, and especially for these really vulnerable patients we're trying to treat.
Do you envision a time when you wear those more than just at nighttime, during the day?
Yeah, so they're designed with a standard A8 frame, so you can grind a prescription into it or grind a bifocal into it and see through it. I don't think that I envision a scenario where there's a bunch of minions walking around with goggles on their eyes, but for those patients that maybe are monocular and holding on by a thread and need every bit that they get, I think that that's something that people would be willing to do in those kind of extreme circumstances.
Just a quick comment. I think the beauty is the data capture also, because you will know if they're not compliant. These are patients with severe disease, so there is a time, an opportunity to intervene.
We designed it that way from the beginning so that we know how long patients have to wear it, how frequently they have to wear it to impact the disease, and to get insights into other therapeutics that are out there.
Thanks, John. Terrific.
Thank you.
Our final presentation is by ViaLase. They called an audible. Tibor was unable to make it, so we got Heidi Strauss to present.
Is that the clicker? Right. I would like to thank you, the organizer and the sponsors for giving us the opportunity to present ViaLase technology. My name is Heidi Strauss, and I'm filling in for Tibor Juhasz, the founder and the CEO of ViaLase. He's recovering from COVID. ViaLase is a VC-funded startup company, developed a novel technology for treatment in open-angle glaucoma. Over 50% of we are focusing on the open-angle glaucoma, and over 50% of those patients are diagnosed as open-angle glaucoma. It is estimated that by 2025, will be over 70 million patients with open-angle glaucoma, and lowering IOP is the only proven treatment option. There are 3 treatments: medication, laser treatment, and surgical intervention. Despite the availability with these options, they will still unmet medical needs and can be summarized as follows. Provide long-lasting IOP reduction for all patients, non-invasive intervention with no surgical trauma, allow future repeated treatment, minimize post-operative care, eliminate the needs for topical medications, shortening the recovery time. And ViaLase checks on all of these unmet medical needs. Now, ViaLase has developed a novel technology based on a micron resolution 3D OCT image-guided femtosecond laser to create non-invasively customized drainage channels through the trabecular meshwork in the vicinity of collector channels to increase the aqueous outflow, result in the reduction of IOP. Both the guidance beam and the surgical beam are delivered through the cornea without the need to open the eye or insert any instrument inside the eye. Therefore, the procedure is completed in non-invasive way. The procedure could be completed at the clinic or ASC. ViaLase successfully built the first prototype last year for the first in-human trial. Now, the first trial was focused on safety while observing the efficacy. All ViaLase procedure was performed by Professor Naj at Semmelweis University. You see him on the right performing his very first ViaLase procedure. The IOP range in this safety-focused study, no washout, was 18 to 38 millimeter mercury. Professor Naj treated all 22 eyes with a single channel sized by 500 by 200 micron cross-section. All these 22 eyes were completed with no adverse event related to ViaLase treatment. All treated subjects provided positive response. On the right, you will see a single ViaLase channel. It is important to note that this is 500 micron channel out of the 36 millimeter intact TM. Now, we are thrilled to report great results through 6 months. These results are favorable when compared to all existing trabecular outflow technologies, where ViaLase procedure provided immediate and consistent IOP reduction. The baseline started at 21.3 millimeter mercury, and in 2 hours, after the procedure, it dropped to 15.7, no IOP spike, and continued to go down to 14.2 at 3 months and improved to 12.7 at 6 months. It is very important to note that a single 500 micron channel treatment brought all those 22 eyes into a normal IOP range. Now, in terms of the IOP reduction percentage, in 2 hours after ViaLase treatment, the mean IOP reduction achieved 25%, about 26%, and it kept improving to reach 38% at 6 months visit. The key highlight from this safety-focused study in terms of mean IOP target, 84% of eyes achieved IOP less or equal than 15 millimeter mercury. And in terms of percentage of IOP reduction, 74% of eyes achieved more than 30% IOP reduction. As a final note from this safety study, we were excited to report that at 6 months, we did not observe any sign of healing of the channels created. Now, on a market participation, ViaLase is projecting to participate in these 3 market segments. On the medication front, the technology will offer treatment to eliminate or reduce number of medications, providing doctors the opportunity to avoid dealing with medication compliance or side effect. Second, on the laser treatment market segment, ViaLase will participate in this segment, showing long-lasting efficacy. And lastly, with the surgical intervention market segment, since ViaLase create an outflow path in a non-invasive way without using an implant or instrument entering the eye, ViaLase procedure would give the doctors the ability to delay the need of surgical intervention, avoid dealing with any surgical complications. Now, in summary, ViaLase is developing potentially breakthrough surgical treatment for glaucoma. The non-invasive ViaLase treatment is designed to provide personalized, long-lasting IOP reduction with micron accuracy placement and unlimited retreatment options if necessary. ViaLase generated excellent initial clinical data from its first in-human trial, and ViaLase has the potential to substantially impact glaucoma management. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hadi. So, Dr. Van Tassel, you have a non-incisional way to create a trabeculotomy. Thoughts? And could you argue that this could be done even earlier in the treatment scheme?
I have the same question I had about capital expenditure, but lest I give the impression I only think about money, I'm also going to ask about whether you have histopathological evidence about what's happening here in your animal models, because this looks a lot like a hole punch that is, accessing the trabecular or to the collector channels, or almost like an iStent inject with no hardware. But how does that stay open in the absence of anti-fibrotic therapy?
So it's a great question on the histology. Actually, in a couple weeks, just maybe 3 weeks, we will be publishing data on that front, where we use cadaver eyes. We treat using our system, and we use the control, and we did the histology, and we will be publishing those data in a few weeks.
Do you want to answer the money question? What is this going to cost us to have in the office?
On the capital equipment, we are aware of the competitiveness, and we will be competitive in that front, and will make it in a sense that surgeons will be able to be break even in less than 2 years.
Okay, so I'll put that to you now. What do you think about this? I mean, potentially huge market. It seems like a safe and early treatment, non-invasive. So maybe this is sort of that type of market we were talking about with standalone MIGs. How easy is that going to be to accomplish, given that it seems like there's going to be some expense?
Yeah, well, I love the role reversal, because my first question was, will this stay patent and for how long? And your first question was, how much does this cost? All right, show me the money. So I love this meeting. I think that's the big question, which is the capital equipment that you showed there looks daunting. It looks expensive. spent a lot of time in my career with capital equipment going into operating rooms, and it is not an easy sell. And when you think for a ophthalmologist of everything between femtosecond lasers for cataracts, for when you think of refractive opportunities, now you start thinking about glaucoma being highly capital intensive. I think it's a challenge.
My response to that is, first, this machine is the first we did in prototype, and we did it in 18 months.
Very fair.
And the femtosecond lasers, because been in the market for a long time, as in itself as a laser engine, the prices went down, and we are aware we're working through our suppliers and to make sure it will be cost effective. But we kept in mind we have to be, in order for us to be competitive, we have to be providing to the users, they can break even in less than 24 months. So we are aware of the cost and we're working towards it.
And you guys got a good track history with your CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. I will not be here without Tibor Juhasz, absolutely.
Ron, last word.
Yeah, just a quick question. So glaucoma patients are obviously pressure sensitive. Is this non-applanating, flat applanating, curved applanating to use it? Non-contact?
No, we will have a curved patient interface that will conform with the cornea. And actually, it's not just to hold the eye, but also has an optical element. If I may reveal that, basically we are focusing with 5 micron to the tissue. So we are using the last lens as an optical element. So it's not just holding the eye, it's not just a patient interface.
But the curved applanator will keep pressures.
In terms of the elevation of IOP after docking, we are not anticipating. We did some cadaver studies, 30 above baseline, 20 to 30 above baseline. That's what we are.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Hattie. Thank you, all our presenters. Thank you, a terrific panel, my co-moderator, Nate Radcliffe, and I believe Jim Mazo and Eric Donenfeld are coming back out. When I saw the time that they gave us, I thought, perfect, right before the cocktail party, everyone will be coming back, it'll be a packed room, and I think Eric's gonna provide his room number and Jim his credit card, so we'll just listen intently here.
Yeah. Also, great news for all Eyecelerator attendees. There'll be a free femtosecond glaucoma laser for all of you who are here today. So we've worked that out, so we appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. Hey, listen, I thought it was an exceptional meeting. It's not possible without so many people. Krista from ASCRS did an amazing job. Gil Kleinman organizing it with us, but mostly my good friend Jim over here. You know, the effort that you put in putting this together, really appreciated. Steve Spears, who had the foresight to really develop this meeting and bring it to Dave Parks. The two of them together have been extremely valuable allies. I can't imagine 2 better people to work with. And thank you to all of you for being here today. This has been a meaningful meeting and wouldn't be possible without industry and ophthalmologists. So thank you all. Jim.
So I just want to say a couple things. Thanks. You'll see that our next Eyecelerator meeting will be November 11th in New Orleans. And we do want your feedback, so you're going to be getting sent out a little survey, so we appreciate the feedback. And on behalf of everyone, for those 17 people that stayed, thank you very much. Nice to see you all. See you later.